I think one of the biggest mistakes in Call of Dragons players make has nothing to do with heroes, nothing to do with pets, nothing to do with artifacts, and nothing to do with spending. It's comparison, and the weird part is most players don't even realize that they're doing that. Because every season I see the same thing. A player posts 20 million merits, the another one posts 8 million merits, and immediately people start drawing some conclusions. This guy is stronger, this account is better, this player knows what he's doing. But what if I told you those two players may not even be playing the same game? Not literally, obviously they're both are playing Call of Dragons, but they might be fighting completely different enemies, completely different kingdoms, completely different matchmaking brackets, different kingdom environment. And once I start paying attention to that, I realize something. Some of the strongest players in the game look average, and some players that look amazing benefit from an environment most players never even think about. And honestly, I think this misunderstanding is causing players to make very expensive decisions. And a while ago, I catch myself doing exactly this. I was looking at some merits screenshot. I mean, I do it almost every day. I even send it to my farm screenshots of the merits where I basically, see the performance of the legions that I'm currently in or my own legions. You know how it goes? Somebody posts a huge season, crazy merits, crazy rankings. Everybody starts reacting. Everybody starts talking about how strong this his account is. My first reaction was the same as everybody else. Whoa, that account must be insane. Then I start looking closer, and that's when the things got weird. Because the more information I found about the season itself, the less impressive that raw number became. Because not because the player was bad, the player was good, but because I realized I was judging the result without understanding the environment. And I think is something almost everybody does. Because comparison feels logical. We see numbers, we compare numbers, simple. Except Cow Dragons doesn't work that way. And once you're realizing that, a lot of assumptions start falling apart. Think about the merits for a second. The higher the merits, the stronger the player. Makes sense, right? But when a weird question appears, what if one player had twice as many opportunities? What if one player fought weaker kingdoms? What if one player had constant field fight every day? What if another player spent half of the season looking for enemies? Suddenly the comparison starts looking completely different. Because now you're not comparing players, you're comparing circumstances. And that's a huge difference. I think many players don't realize how much their season determines their result. You can have a strong account and worse merits. You can have weaker account and better merits. And that's where things getting dangerous, because if you misunderstand the cause of your result, you start taking bad decision. And for some reasons things are getting emotional. Things are getting emotional from time to time. I see this happen all the time. A player sees somebody else's screenshot, they immediately start questioning their own account. Maybe I need a new hero, maybe my march is outdated, maybe I invest wrong, maybe I should switch troop type. By switching troop types, because I hear that over and over, and I have done this mistake myself. I was League of Order and I switch, and no, I first start with Wooderberg, and I try to be mage main. Then I understand that I have to be League of Order to be Mage Main. Then I saw somebody with crazy reports with the Spring Warden and Eagles. I changed to Spring Warden. I start investing in the flying heroes. Well, what can I say, guys? Just the things was not going in my direction by switching the troops. Maybe I should start saving for a different hero. This is also a question that arises in the heads of the people. But hold on. What if the other player's environment is doing half of the work? That's not something most players think about. Because environments are visible. The screenshot is visible. The merits are visible. The ranking is visible. The context isn't. And humans naturally compare visible things. That's why this mistake is so common. And it's not only about the merits reports or something like this, it's also about the heroes. People non-stop ask me, Burgas, what is the best hero? And I'm saying like heroes are 50% or even 40% from the whole picture. You have pets, you have artifacts, you have decorations, you have city skin. I mean, there is a full context there. So I really hope some players actually understanding that. Then I start thinking about rankings, and honestly, rankings might be even more misleading because people love rank 1. Rank 1 feels powerful, rank 1 sound impressive, rank 1 looks impressive, yeah, but rank 1 where? That's the question nobody asks. Imagine two players, both are rank 1, same title, same badge, same screenshot. One player is fighting absolutely monsters, and the other one is fighting a much softer bracket. Who is actually stronger? You can tell from the ranking. You can't tell from the ranking. And that's exactly the problem. Because players assume the rankings tells the whole story. But the ranking only tell you when somebody finish it. But the ranking only tell you where somebody finish it. It doesn't tell you what they have to overcome. And I see one of my most important videos is about the rankings. I just go over the rankings and, you know, going over the merits. Look at this thing, 150, 148. This is a lot of merits, brother. 91. I mean, the first 50 people, the lowest by merits is like 62 million. The first 100 people is, how much is the first? It's like 46 million plus merits. I mean, the context here, we're in the top. I was in the top KVK, but can you compare this to some, you know, KVK where the person is still at the top place, but it's not actually on the top place in the biggest KVK. Just the context are a little more different there. So this reminds me of the sports, by the way. Imagine somebody scored 30 points against a weaker team and another score 18 points against the best defense in the league. Which performance is more impressive? The answer isn't obvious. Because context change everything. Call of Dragons is the same. And I think many players forget that, especially veteran players. Because once you've been playing for a long time, comparison become a habit. You remember your best season, you remember your highest merits, you remember your highest ranking, and then every future season become a comparison against that memory. What is the problem? The old season might have happened under completely different conditions. Then I noticed something interesting in the Discord. Some players were talking about merits percentages, different matchmaking environments, different brackets, different level of competition, and suddenly a lot of things start make sense. Because maybe the players with lower merits isn't weaker, maybe he's playing in the harder environment. That's a completely different conclusion. And that conclusion change decisions. Because if you're weaker, you need upgrade. If you're simply in the tough environment, you need perspective. Those are not the same solutions, and mixing them up can cause months of progress. So the next time you see somebody posting insane merits or insane ranking or insane damage report, don't immediately compare your account. Compare the situation, because the player you're looking at may not be stronger. They might simply be playing in completely different battlefield. And once you understand that, a lot of those scary comparisons suddenly stop looking so scary. At least that's what happened to me, and honestly I think more players would enjoy the game if they realize this, because your goal isn't to beat somebody else's screenshot. Your goal is to make the best decision possible in the environment you're actually playing. And those are two different games. So let me know, have you ever looked at somebody else's merits or ranking and feel like your account was failing behind? And looking back now, were you really comparing players, or were you comparing completely different KVKs? And yeah, till these days I'm still comparing myself here and there, but that's normal. This is the way competitive players are working. Just you have to know the context. Just you have to know the context. So this will be for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit one like, subscribe for more Call of Dragons content. Wish you a great day, and see you in the next video.